Helmut Marko once told everyone in racing to be careful about believing rumors, and that same feeling is hanging around the racetracks as a new rumor starts spreading. Christian Horner, who just got let go from his Red Bull job, might be switching to Aston Martin. It sounds crazy when you first hear it, but when you think about it, it actually makes sense with everything else happening in Formula One. Aston Martin is spending lots of money. Honda engines are coming their way. And Red Bull is starting a new engine story with Ford. When you put all these things together, you start to see why this rumor won't go away. Here's what happened in order. After 20 years running things and winning 8 driver championships and 6 team championships, Horner got removed from his job. Red Bull GmbH announced the change in early July and picked Laurent Mekies as the new CEO of Red Bull Racing. That alone would be huge news in any time period. Right now, with new 2026 rules coming and engine partnerships changing, it's like firing a starting gun for everyone to start making moves. Teams aren't just building cars anymore, they're building power groups and figuring out their long-term plans. This is where Aston Martin comes into the picture. The Silverstone team has been climbing up fast, paid for by Lawrence Stroll's money, and now paired with a full Honda engine program starting next season. Honda coming back as a full factory partner gives Aston Martin a technical backbone and a team spirit that it hasn't had since the early Force India days. A smart political player who knows how to work with a manufacturer, get a growing team excited, and protect a star driver's interests would be perfect. That sounds like someone we know. It sounds like Horner. Juan Pablo Montoya added more fuel to this story when he said he could see Horner at Aston instead of Cadillac. He talked about, too, years working with Adrian Newey, and how that kind of partnership thinking could work with what Aston is trying to build. It's more than just a headline. It's a picture of how Aston Martin might make that last 5% professional jump from getting on the podium sometimes to fighting for championships all the time. You can't just buy that final step. You have to hire the right people, add in Honda's driver program, and the story gets even more interesting. Yuki Tsunoda is connected more to Honda than to Red Bull, and his future, inside the Red Bull family, looks shaky with Isaac Hadjar being looked at as a possible teammate for Verstappen in 2026. Helmut Marko has never been emotional about these choices. If a driver doesn't meet his standards, he moves on. Most 2026 seats are already decided, and the remaining spots favor drivers with either manufacturer support or championship experience. For Tsunoda, that means Honda's path, which soon goes through Aston Martin. The talk in the paddock is simple. If Tsunoda can't get a race seat, Honda could put him at Aston as a test and backup driver. It keeps him inside the factory circle, lets him learn the car, and keeps a bridge back to racing if things change. History is tough when it comes to comebacks, but a factory backup role is one of the few safety nets that actually leads somewhere. If Horner does show up in Silverstone, the mix of a Honda-supported driver, a factory engine program, and a strong senior leader would give Aston Martin a unified identity from the boardroom to the garage. None of this happens alone. Max Verstappen has made things clear for 2026, which keeps Red Bull stable for now. The question is, what happens once the new rules show who figured out the best concept? If Aston Martin starts strong with Honda, and a car influenced by lessons that people like Adrian Newey have supported for years, the pull on top, talent becomes real. A driver at the top of his game wants a car that matches his hunger for winning. If that target moves, loyalties can move with it. That's not an insult to Red Bull. It's understanding how quickly times can change after a rule reset. For Red Bull, the immediate challenge is about structure. Mekies steps into a powerful executive chair. Technical groups must stay working together, and the junior program has to produce a second driver who can race alongside Verstappen without losing points or taking up strategy attention. Red Bull has handled rough times before, but this is a different kind of test. It's not only about lap time, it's about controlling the story. Sponsors, staff, and drivers need to feel the same confidence that defined the team from 2010 through 2013, and again in the Verstappen era. Any feeling that things are drifting and the market will look for weak spots. Look closely and the realistic chances of a Horner switch aren't as crazy as they sound. He lives in the motorsport area that stretches from Milton Keynes to Silverstone. The Aston Martin campus is getting bigger. The wind tunnel is working. Honda will bring people, processes, and a ruthless focus on power unit details. A leader who can stitch those things together, sell the vision to the paddock, and protect the race team from political shockwaves is exactly what this next phase needs. That pressure for 20 years, and still turned it into trophies. There are, of course, hard realities. Contracts have power. Gardening leave rules exist for a reason. Anti-stealing clauses surround key technical people. Any move this big would need lawyers, secret agreements, and patience. On the driver's side, Tsunoda would have to stand next to two established names in Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. A backup path makes sense in theory, but it still demands humility and consistency from a racer who has lot his identity on aggression and spark. Even with Honda pulling, nothing is guaranteed. The bigger competitive picture is what makes the rumor so interesting. 2026 represents a clean slate. Red Bull Ford is unknown today, not because of doubt inside Milton Keynes, but because no one can be sure how the full powertrain and chassis integration will work until the car runs in real racing. Aston Martin Honda has a clearer shape. It's a standard factory model, and that model has a habit of creating teamwork when the culture is right. Put a proven team boss on top of that stack, and you give yourself a faster route to working together. Horner, Tsunoda, Aston Martin, Honda, and the question of where Verstappen's long game eventually points. Each piece matters by itself. Together they form a scenario that would have sounded like fantasy 5 years ago and now reads like a possible plan. None of it requires a collapse at Red Bull or a miracle at Silverstone. It only requires ambition, timing, and 2 or 3 key decisions to go a certain way. That is how power shifts happen in this sport. Quiet planning, then sudden clarity. Maybe the rumor fades, maybe it becomes real. Either way, it shows the crack lines that will define the next era. Factory partnerships are back in style. Driver programs are owned by engine suppliers. Team principals are as much political operators as they are paddock generals. If Aston Martin truly wants to move from impressive project to constant threat, adding a leader who has already built a dynasty would be the boldest possible statement. If Red Bull wants to extend their dynasty through a rules revolution, the response must be just as sharp. So picture it for a moment. A Honda-powered Aston Martin, a strong hand steering the ship, a Japanese star waiting in the wings, and a grid reset that invites a new order. It's only a rumor today, but it captures as the energy of a paddock that can sense another turning point coming. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below.